Well, Jim, let's stay on the topic of AEW, even though there's so much more AEW to talk about. We'll have to break it up a little bit more. But AEW Dynamite aired last Wednesday, and I had forgotten all about it until you brought it up before. But we do indeed, I guess, have to talk about what was on the road to World's End.
Well, yeah, boy, in more ways than one. And the road to ruin. And we watched this one program because they were kind and beneficial enough to us on Raw to just do reruns, right, for Christmas. But we have to at least reference a few of the happenings on Wednesday night's Dynamite of December 27th before we talk about the World's End for Tony Khan on December 30th, because they were still setting shit up because they had no idea what the fuck was going on. And I like to subtitle this episode, Tony Khan wouldn't know good booking if Gutenberg printed it for him. A lot of the bibliophiles out there now blowing snot. Google it, kids, if you... But they led the thing off with another tournament match, but this time it was the three-way to determine the winner of the gold block to go on against the blockhead or whatever the fuck. It was Moxley versus Swerve versus Switchblade or Slingblade or...
Slingshot
Jay White, that's what it is. And again, you can't stomach Moxley to begin with. He looks like a hobo wandered in from the railroad yard, and then they make it a three-way to make it worse. And within the first 2 minutes, they were all over the arena. And Taz had to mention the one guy trying to save this thing. He had to mention, well, the referee's being lenient. It wasn't no DQ. It wasn't no count out. It was lazy booking, but it's supposed to be their tournament match where there's no interference and it's pure sport. And they're out in the goddamn bleachers because Moxley can't do anything else. He doesn't know how. He doesn't do it well.
I can bleed.
And thankfully, maybe he got to his quota that month. I'm sure he has a monthly quota. They measure how much blood he loses. We did that one time. They sent me down in Charlotte to do a live remote on Channel 3 at the noon news for the blood drive, encouraging people to come down and give blood, right? Down to the Grady Cole Center.
Okay.
The old Park Center. And, well, they said Cornette can talk. The other, what the fuck, right? Just be entertaining. So I went down and I was talking with the newscaster was there, and I was also talking to one of the Red Cross representatives, and I said, ma'am, I said, how much blood is there in the human body? And she answered me, I don't know now if this would, but let's say it was 12 pints, right? I said, okay, well, I challenge right now, I will give $5,000 to the Red Cross if Dusty Rhodes will come down here and donate 13 pints of his blood to the Red Cross. And boy, howdy, there you go. They didn't know what was going on. Anyway, so
13 pints.
13, you got to give 13, Dusty, or they don't get the money. Think of the little children. I'm doing this on the goddamn noon news on the biggest station in North Carolina. Anyway, so back to this fucking match. I think there was about a 5-minute period. I don't think any of the three of them were in the ring at all. It was just the worst instinct of every indie outlaw wrestler you could imagine. And then, Moxley and Swerve had a slap fight. And I wrote, this will never end. I was fast forwarding through the chairs and the railing and the goofy bumps and everything. And finally, Moxley hit his shitty double arm suplex on Light Switch, and boom, there you go. We were 30 minutes into the fucking show. And again, the one guy who might have benefited from, the one guy that's got some momentum and some talent and it needs some direction, but whatever that could have benefited from this was Swerve. And he didn't even make it to the finals.
I think they got Swerve set up for bigger plans.
Well,
he probably shouldn't have been in this tournament, though.
Then don't put him in a tournament. It's a work. That's what I'm saying. You put the 30 minutes into the program. for that. Who the fuck is Mariah May? Why is she suddenly has anybody ever heard of this woman before? She showed up 6 weeks ago. They apparently decided to do a 2-year character evolution of Timeless Tony Storm in 3 months, and they've already got her nemesis / replacement lining up, and I know people have likened it to All About Eve. I don't know if we're going to haul in the Oscars on this one. But
isn't it more like Sunset Boulevard, though?
Well, they're taking from everything. And again, Tony Storm probably had the root of a lot of these ideas. I hope she's not writing the whole thing or she's rushing her own self. But now that everybody's throwing shit in, and I guess a lot of people are too nice or too scared to say, slow down, cowboy. And so, yes, the Sunset Boulevard with Luther the Butler, Eric von Stroheim, and the All About Eve with the the story as old as time with the understudy conniving to replace the star, blah, 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 whatever the fuck. But this was like wrestling school promo. They gave her a live interview with Renee Moxley Good. And it was like, promo practice at school. What the fuck? And then out comes Riho and ran her off and beat up Tony Storm. So she ran Mariah May or Maria May or Mary May.
Mariah May.
Mariah May.
She may not, but Mariah May.
It could go either way. She can go one way, she can go the other way. But so she runs off. Tony Storm gets beat up by this fucking feather. This goddamn cotton ball.
She didn't even have her pipe. She just ran out there. They ran from her.
You heard the horrible thing about the fucking, she dropped the pipe and bent over, tried to pick it back up and strained her back. But I
didn't hear that, no.
No, I wish I hadn't said it. But I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous. At this point, they're trying to do something with some women that at least have some personality that the American television audience, which is primarily what they're on here, it's paying them the big bucks, can relate to and might be new. And they're still trying to shove this poor mousy schoolgirl down everybody's throat. And
well, we'll play you audio later on. Tony Khan defends it, saying that she's a big ratings mover.
She can't move the ropes when she hits them. Remember I was talking to you about the U-Scan, the grocery thing where you have to scan at the grocery your own shit? When you scan her at the grocery, it keeps telling you to put her in the bag after you've already put her in the bag.
Well, that was that segment. Certainly, yeah. Tony Khan is no Thalberg, I'll say that.
So poor Irving. We barely got a chance to experience his great dead at 37.
Who's a better booker, Irving Thalberg dead or Tony Khan right now alive?
Thalberg's rotten corpse. He'd be down to the bones by now. But anyway, so then Tony Schiavone was in the ring for the Don Fallis family ceremony with Hobbs and Take a Shit and Kyle Felcher. Because it was Boxing Week celebration. Because they're, the Canadians up there, they've got these strange customs. Some Canadians celebrate Boxing Day after Christmas. Some Canadians get kicked out of hotels in the greater United Kingdom area. They've got strange customs. But Felcher, to me, looked badly out of place here because Hobbs and our boy Take, they look great. And if they would, where is Take a Shit been, by the way? If they'd followed up on him, he was getting over it. All of a sudden, read-eep. But they look great. And Felcher looks like the goddamn guy who got rejected at the Leave It to Beaver remake casting call in a suit. It just... And they all got paintings of themselves with him, with Don, as presents for Boxing Week, but they didn't uncover the fourth painting. And he did say finally the family is complete here. And then Sammy Guevara's music hits and interrupts. And Brian, what was the mood of the crowd at that point when Sammy came out?
It was a groan. They did not want Sammy. They don't see Sammy as a babyface. He's kind of killed a lot of that in the past. He's turned back and forth so many times. This
But
segment was already...
they didn't know he was going to switch yet. They didn't see him as a heel either.
They saw him as a babyface. They all knew he just had a baby because those are the AEW fans. They know that shit. This segment was already dying a horrible death because Don Callis' segments always suck. And this one was as bad as all of them. And again, had they follow up on Takeshita, got a big win, then I think he lost in like a tag match or something. Then he's just been like in the background in a group. We haven't seen shit from him.
We literally haven't seen him take a shit.
If anyone watches AEW TV regularly, why would you want to see Sammy Guevara come out here for this?
Well, he was mad at Don. I think they thought the immense nuclear heat that Don has where random press photographers in Tijuana try to tackle him on an annual basis. Conan! He didn't get his baby gift. Sammy didn't. Apparently. Don's like, all is well. I just didn't know you were going to be here. Didn't know you were going to show up for work. You're on maternity leave or whatever. And he reveals the fourth painting, and it's all of the heels there with Sammy holding Sammy's baby, which, actually was kind of a cool thing to have made like that. Although I thought at first they were holding a small chimpanzee. But nevertheless.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you say that?
Well, it looked like an ugly child. So apparently, but Sammy didn't say anything about that.
We don't know what the model for the artwork was.
No, it could have been Cheetah. It could have been, but nevertheless, the point is that Sammy was incensed about this. Who the hell told you to put my baby in the picture? Maybe he don't want that baby to be seen. I don't know. I'm like you. If I had a baby like that, I'd take it to the plastic surgeon and say, can you make him look right? The surgeon added a tail.
What do you mean you're like me? I didn't say that.
But anyway, so of course, then Don immediately starts knocking Sammy in the way that to telegraph not only that he's about to turn, but also in a contrived way that you would not do if you were not intending on turning on the guy to begin with in the first place. So it's a foregone conclusion. And he tore him down. Sammy, you never show up. You're a hurt loser that hadn't shown up for work in 5 months or whatever. So choose your other family or my family. I can't see Bill Watts having produced this particular big angle here. And Shammy, how I love you, my dear old Shammy. Sammy shoves. Here's what Sammy did. He shoved Don down. Sammy shoves Don down. And the heels get on Sammy. And then Jericho's music plays. And because this was probably hours, maybe, before the news was being bandied about, the rumors and accusations, whatever, they didn't really boo him. They just still didn't give a shit. But Jericho used his baseball bat to run the heels out. And then broke the frames on the paintings. And every time he'd hit one of those fucking frames and it'd shatter, I'm thinking, boy, if somebody in the front row just had the guts to stick one piece of fucking plastic in his own eye and then call Stephen P. New, they could be a billionaire. But nevertheless, the heels bailed. There was a big face-off between Jericho and Sammy, and then they had a big hug. And finally, this long, drawn-out segment had come to an end, or had it? Nah. As soon as they hug, Jericho and Sammy being the they, Starks and Big Bill just appear and jump them from behind and start getting some of the most lackluster and or immobile heat that I've ever seen on them. But I'm like, what the fuck? And then the lights go out for a while. I didn't have my watch in the same room with the second hand, or I would have timed this son of a bitch, but it had to be better than 30 seconds of black screen on network television with the announcers going, well, wait, well, and when the lights come on, there's Sting and Darby Allin, who got his name from an old Irish folk song, and they called him Darby Allin. And now Sting and Jericho both, so the babyface team both have baseball bats. And they hit Big Bill about 5 or 6 times before he even went down. And with the phoniness of some of the swings, I'm not actually penalizing him for that. And then that set of heels that are completely goddamn totally unrelated to the other set of heels that had just bailed. They bail, and the baby faces stand there. Did I describe that to what you saw, Brian, or was this some kind of indigestion from an undigested bit of beef or a blot of mustard over Christmas?
This was an endless, awful segment. From the beginning to the very end, callous. Again, for anyone who wants to pretend like he's a heel with heat, when everyone's booing and smiling, you don't have any heat. They're enjoying the show. And then you get to the substance of it, and it's all this stupidity. And again, him with the paintings. The Sammy stuff wasn't getting over with anyone. Jericho comes out. Jericho, even before the week of Jericho, I don't know what you call it. This is the start of the week of Jericho right there on Dynamite. He's not very good anymore. You can stop pretending, everyone has been pretending. And then just more. It's just more, and everyone likes, at one point or another...
Yeah, hold on. I got to say, regardless, there's another way to put it that sounds even less biased. I'm not saying he is as good as he once was. He's better than some they've got, but he's doing the same stuff he's doing the same stuff in the ring while trying to be a different person outside the ring every 4 months, and they've seen him for 5 years. How can I miss you if you won't go away? It's getting old, and so is he. Maybe he should revamp his schedule rather than his character.
You know what else is getting old? The lights going out. Everyone is starting to groan when that happens. No one's getting excited. It's the House of Black doing it. The Devil's doing it. Sting and Darby are doing it. Why? This is one of those things from ECW that they got away with not having a logical reason for it, but now you have to have a reason for it. Or stop doing it. It's the laziest thing ever. I get that Sting can't run to the ring, but there's got to be a better way.
Well, no, you could... They're not even doing it because of that. I mean, if he can have the matches he's having, he can run down the aisleway. It's that they think it's cool. And it's not cool anymore. It was like you said, the 90s, ECW got away with it. And every once in a while, if you can have the lights come back on and there's The Rock or Jesus Christ, that's wonderful. Everybody will just forgive you, even if it takes a minute to get into position. But when it's constant and it's multiple times per show and it takes a while, and then it's not anybody that you wouldn't normally see otherwise on the fucking program.
Did it get you excited for the 8-man tag at the pay-per-view?
Well, that's what it set up, but they didn't book it right there. They announced it later on at some point that I was zipping through. But what? No, because there was no logical reason for a variety of these things to go on in the same segment or the way that they did. But nevertheless, more is less, as they say. Speaking of more being less, did you like, in hindsight now, when I saw this, I did not know what was going to happen at the pay-per-view. But did you like Roderick Strong again in a pre-tape segment doing comedy with Taven and Bennett, showing the chart why MJF is the devil and being silly, and the neck brace and these two flunkies that Taven and Bennett have become in whole 9 yards? In hindsight now, how fucking ignorant is this?
It's been steadily awful for a while. I'm not convinced that anything that happened at the pay-per-view is going to end the awfulness. We'll see.
But I can't believe that we'll get to it at the pay-per-view, but I can't believe they have done to all of these guys what they've done for no good reason with the position they were going to put them in.
There's no one in charge with good ideas. There's no one in charge who will say no to the bad ideas instead of trying to put his spin on them. That's the problem. It all comes from the top. The fact that at the same time, they're trying to sell everyone on the sports-based wrestling of the Continental Classic, they're doing bad WWE comedy. Not even the WWE comedy, which sucks on its own. Bad versions of that.
Let me just say this, and maybe if it's not completely Tony Khan saying you guys must do this or else it's your jobs. Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett, whoever, I will say, please, somebody who knows one of those gentlemen, because I've dealt with all three of them, forward this clip. If it's one of the three of y'all's ideas to be presented this way, treated this way, and do the things you've done since you joined the company, the other two of you ought to beat the fuck out of him. Because he's not only ruined his own career, he's ruined y'all's too. Y'all are toast. You're fucking stale goddamn bread in the fucking pan at the bottom of the toaster that only gets cleaned out every 6 months or so. Because you will never be taken seriously by that audience in that company. I don't care whether you're devil's henchmen or not, because you've been portrayed as brainless fucking twits, comedy characters, people who are unserious about their profession, and the whole thing's totally phony. So if it was any of the three of y'all's idea, instead of you being forced to go along with it, that person is a fucking idiot. But don't worry, you got company. Because MJF's the goddamn stupidest son of a bitch walking the planet on 2 feet right now. So probably a lot of the attention will go on the failure, the complete failure that this angle is going to be will go on him, because he gets a lot of the attention. And he's a fucking moron now, too, in the public eye. But we'll get to that. Anyway, you want to move on with Dynamite?
Yeah.
So, we got a tournament match with Danielson and Eddie Kingston. And remember, I thought you called it, by the way. You know, Brian, you're great. I'm telling you. Because I thought, all right, now yours echoes a little bit. You need to tone that thing down.
All right.
Hey! Thank you, doctor. I thought that even if Bryan Danielson had to hop to the fucking ring on one leg with no arms like the goddamn Black Knight or whatever, that Tony would let him win it because it's his G1 before he, finishes his full-time wrestling career. But you correctly called it. We'll get to that later on. But in the meantime, now here is two baby faces. Danielson and Kingston, the whole tournament's practically been two heels against each other. Kingston could have been, as we've talked about, an over-gimmick babyface a couple years ago now when he had momentum and the article and the blah, blah, blah. But it's been the same thing for 2 years, start and stop. You see him, then you don't. But also his worst Japanese wrestling fantasies have been allowed to come to fruition, where instead of a fucking guy that somebody in Queens might relate to as a mechanic that worked down the street from him and is getting a big-time chance at a sports career, instead he's a fat guy having bad Japanese wrestling matches. So that season has passed. And then you got the fact that this went 22 fucking minutes, counting entrances, I believe, with Eddie Kingston basically beating Bryan Danielson, one of the best wrestlers in the world, by bitch slapping him with an open-handed backhand and then a powerbomb 1, 2, 3. Did this do anything for Eddie Kingston worth sacrificing Bryan Danielson to that degree when you haven't got Danielson for another full fucking year?
I think the way Danielson sees Danielson and the way we see Danielson may be different.
I think the way some of these people see may be different.
This whole thing was set up for Eddie to win. I mean, it was telegraphed when he put his belts on the line early on. And whether Eddie's the person who should be winning a tournament like this, at this point, who's the younger wrestler that's going to be helped by this? Maybe Swerve. Is he younger? I don't even know how old he is. Who's the wrestler? I guess maybe Swerve.
And again, I referenced earlier in the program, people that Cornette, he's stuck in a fucking past. God damn, he'd book the Midnight Express to man. No, I wouldn't. He'd book the Rock and Roll Express, not on national TV as the world champions. No, I wouldn't. But when I did book the Rock and Roll Express on TV as champions last in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, they were younger than all these fucking guys are now. Remember, we worked it out. Robert was 30 fucking 4, right? Yeah, Robert Gibson was 34, and I think Ricky was, well, depending on which birth certificate you believe, he wasn't even 40 yet. So what the fuck? Anyway, so after Eddie bitch slaps Danielson, what a fucking way to go down for a former WWE champion. The plumber comes out, and Brian, I know you saw it, but the folks will never guess what he told his opponent in the finals. He said, I want you at your best. I want you at 100%. We keep joking about this
It's
every
awful.
fucking week. Can't somebody be honest now? I want you to be hurt. I want you at your work. I want you hungover. Go out and party the night before. Because I don't want to get hurt when I beat you. Fucking morons. I want you at your best. Everybody loves you, but they know and you know that you can't beat me, and on and on and on. And I wrote this slobbering wino, thinks he's a badass. And then Kingston fired up and responded with a bunch of Japanese wrestling references to young boys and fucking various, and not in that respect. The young boys are the stooges over there, the fetchers and carriers. But anyway, at least Kingston has a little fire to him, unlike this fucking Moxley. But the whole point was show your fighting spirit. What? God damn it. Would a mechanic from Brooklyn tell a guy, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. I don't care who you fucking are. You think you've been a big star, but I've been waiting for this all my life. I'll pull your fucking eyeballs out. Or would they say, show your fighting spirit?
Rest up. Bring your best. Drink some fluids. Train. Be ready. None of that.
Here's the thing about wrestling. It's always been this way, and then we'll move on to the next part of this fiasco. It's always been this way, but when other people, smart people, were in charge, it wasn't a problem. A lot of the guys in the wrestling business, Brian, would you say down through history, is this an inflammatory statement, or is this an exaggeration, or is this truth, just plain fact? Most of the guys that have made money in the wrestling business since the start of it had an odd or a unique or a different look to them visually, physically. They didn't look like normal people. They looked unusual even, right? Would you say that's a fact?
I would say that's a fact. And like Bruno Sammartino was a normal guy, but he was gigantic. He had a massive chest.
Yeah.
You would see someone like that go, oh, man, he must be a wrestler.
Most
that
people
was the
don't
most
look
normal
like,
kind of person.
yes, don't look like this, don't talk like this, don't sound like whatever the case, right? But by the same token, you would find if you were a booker or a promoter down through history that not all the guys really acted like they looked. So sometimes you had to give them a little bit of a gimmick and bring it out to where that they acted publicly on television like they looked, like they appeared, like they spoke, so that the gimmick would be complete. Wee Willie Davis was an expert at horticulture. But he was 6'10" and 350 pounds, and he had a face like a goddamn 30s gangster, which is why he got into movies after he was a wrestler. But you wouldn't expect him to expound eloquently on the fucking gardenias and blah, 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 and the goldenrods. So that's the point. Is Kingston had and has a look and ability to talk and a charisma, and he should be, instead of letting him fantasize about his Japanese wrestling fantasies that appeal to a niche audience that he's been performing for his entire life, now that he's on national television, somebody should have said no. Yeah, like Watts did for Junkyard Dog. Remember, the Junkyard Dog's original gimmick was he was wheeling a goddamn wheelbarrow full of junk from the junkyard and the chain around his neck. And Murdoch used to come out with, he played the U.S. Marine Corps theme, and he had a fucking Marine Corps backpack, and he'd hit people with his entrenching shovel. If fucking Kingston came out with a goddamn monkey wrench in his back pocket, one of those fucking caps on, and hit a guy with a fucking wrench, I'd believe it coming from that fat, ugly fuck, right?
Jesus, be nice.
No, I'm complimenting him. He's got a fucking look. He's not working it.
Fat and ugly's his look?
He's a fat, ugly fucking mechanic from Brooklyn or Queens or whichever one is most.
From Yonkers. He's from
Yonkers.
Yonkers.
Okay, I don't know. I never got that fucking fine into the neighborhoods over there, but that's the point I'm making. Yo, hey, we're gonna fucking go down and bust some heads tonight at the fucking plant or whatever the fuck, right?
The plant, yeah.
Wherever you could buy this shit from him. But he would broaden his audience if it's a Hacksaw Duggan with the 2x4. Yo, USA, whatever the fuck.
He said
right?
ho, not yo.
Ho, yo,
It was ho, not yo.
Well, you yo your ho, and I'll yo mine. Duggan and I shared a couple of yos, as a matter of fact. But nevertheless,
God.
Point is, work your gimmicks, people. So speaking of working a fucking gimmick.
Can I just say something?
Yes, you can.
Very unpopular opinion, but I have a few of those. But they're still true. I'm starting to think Bryan Danielson at this point may be the most overrated wrestler in the world. Because I'm sick of his matches. And why I say that is, I know exactly how his matches are going to go. And they almost get too slow for me. Too slow in the middle. Too slow with the guy sitting there on his knees with his chest up waiting for a kick. Like, I don't like that. And he may be one of the biggest problems in terms of the timing of the, you call it yay boo spot. You can't even call it that anymore. Just the trading blows back and forth with permission in the middle of a match. Or
yes.
Towards the end of a match. I'm really starting to not like his matches because I'm seeing his match over and over again. Some of the stuff he could do on the mat is beautiful to watch. But his matches are, I don't know, becoming kind of boring to me.
Well, but you know what? You said he's maybe overrated as the greatest wrestler in the world. There's two ways to look at that. Both these things can be true, whatever the case. He's not been produced and advised and booked correctly. He's too indie-minded to be given free reign over whatever he does. Although at this point, in his career, and he's going to retire soon, and he's got a family, and he's got money, he ought to be able to do what he wants, just not on national TV in somebody else's fucking company. Let him do indies, right? But he hasn't been produced. Orson Welles made some real stinkers, right? Because he'd just take the money and do whatever the fuck, especially in the later years. He didn't give a shit.
Drink wine.
And yes. And that's the thing is, if any of these guys, Danielson, when he was Remember that run where he was the sly, smart-ass heel that we praised to the heavens? The matches were incredible because he had a variety of opponents who needed to do their own shit too. It wasn't a bunch of people working with him that were pleased and thrilled to be in the ring with Bryan Danielson and wanting to try to have his match because that's what you do out of respect. When he worked with MJF had to do MJF shit, right? And Bryan, he was doing those promos, which were great. He was having those matches, which were great against a variety of people. And then suddenly, as we talked about, however many months later it was, he was in the meaningless fucking group with the goofy plumber and poor Claudio, just a mute fucking lurch in the background. And it's not special because now he's doing the same thing over and over, except when he's out for long periods of time because he tries to have these goddamn Japanese matches and a Japanese guy broke his arm and then somebody else broke his face.
Is he a great worker? Is someone a great worker if they always get hurt in these matches that really appeal more to themselves than anyone else?
No, the guy jumped off top rope and dropped an elbow on his arm or landed on his arm and broke it. That's not Bryan's fault. And
fair enough.
I would have to know exactly the spot where he got his face fucking caved in to ascribe blame to Bryan. That's hard to do to yourself. But again, produce him. Tell him, Bryan, no. We need you, that personality that you had. And we need you to, instead of fucking encouraging these guys and girls' Japanese fantasies, get them into the fucking wrestling business in the United States and how to work and how to get over as a personality because you've done that too. And instead, they want him to go all out and show this mastery that he's already showed plenty of in-ring wrestling in his last 9 months in the business. How about let's create something that maybe puts his ultimate career in jeopardy where he wants to finish at Wembley Stadium or whatever, but something might stand in the way of that and he has to overcome that and make it a goddamn 9-month story instead of having him in goddamn tournament matches where he's getting beat with a goddamn backhand. Fuck. Anyway, now can we move on to the next bad gimmick?
I forgot what else is on the show, yeah.
Christian Cage, Nick Plain, and Nick Plain's mom, who now is dressing like a Bond villainess. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I did.
I don't think she looks like Ursula Andress in a bikini, but she looked like she was wearing black leather and she has evil intent in her eye. They were supposed to have a sit-down with Edge on this program. And I gotta think, I don't even know whether this was in the building or not. Did they not show Edge to the fucking crowd, if that's the case, that they pre-taped this somewhere else? Or if it was in this building, they still didn't show Edge to the fucking people, right?
Right.
He wouldn't have been on YouTube. So, I mean, would he? So they're supposed to have a sit-down interview in the back with Christian and his band and Edge runs into the room and attacks everybody. And he and Christian fight out into the hallway and the security and the job guys try to separate and they have a big fight in the hall. And Edge, he's got a great mean face, boy. He looks like he means business. And then it was broken up. I'll get you Sunday or Saturday or whenever it is. But I guess those people, they just didn't get to see Edge in person. Maybe did they do that earlier in the day so he could catch a flight?
I don't know. Why fly to the building to do that?
When you go to a WWE show, correct me if I'm wrong, all the big stars usually at some point run in, make an entrance, they talk to you, basically talk to you. But if you buy a ticket to go there live, you actually get to see them in the building, right?
Right.
So these people probably thought they were going to get to see Edge they know who's hurt, but he ain't hurt. Anyway, they milked that for almost the whole program, and that's what we got, was a fight in the hallway. At least they've never done that before, so it stood out as something different. And then what did you think of Statlander against Blue Sky?
Thought it was all right. in the AEW women's division kind of way?
You
What do you think of Sky Blue's new dark side personality? She's no longer wearing blue, she's wearing black, and she's teaming up with House of Black, whatever she is there.
perpetrator Julia Hart.
I don't know if she's the leader. Do I say leader or not? But Julia Hart.
I don't. How big is this house? Are they going to have to put on an addition? Maybe get a fucking Murphy bed or something? Because they're moving into the house left and right. Nobody's leaving. Although if I was in the house with Julia Hart and Blue Sky, I probably wouldn't leave too often.
They'd leave.
But thank you very much. Here's the problem. I mentioned Julia Hart's a personality, and I would have her wrestle very minimally and only when people pay to see it, and have her be the spiritual centerpiece of the House of Black, or maybe even something with somebody that could actually get over. Somehow attention is put on her, but she ain't just out there taking bumps. I understand Blue Sky is a healthy, exuberant-looking young lady, but she's green still, and now they're putting Julia and Blue together, and they did the deal where Julia hits Statlander with the title belt, and then Blue did some fucked up kind of sunset flip off the top rope thing, powerbomb 1, 2, 3. Statlander, what the fuck happened? I thought they were going to push her. I thought she came back from injury. I thought they were going to put the belt on her. She was starting to be seen on TV. She's a grown adult. She looked like she had improved. I would like to see her follow Jane, our friend Miss Cargill, over to NXT to get some proper training and see her in the ring wrestling the adult girls like Charlotte and Ripley and whoever the fuck. Because now she's just putting over these green munchkins in AEW for no, she made changes. Statlander did. Dropped the goddamn, I'm an alien being from another galaxy, and the nose booping and the silliness. I guess she has no control over whether they send her out with the Puddin' Gang or not, but she improved in her matches, and she looks like a grown adult woman that could do some damage. And now she's going down to fucked up sunset flips by Blue Sky. That was my observation there.
I mean, Statlander should be in NXT. And Julia Hart and Sky Blue should probably be in developmental. Even though personality-wise, Julia Hart's obviously ready. Maybe in the ring she's ready for NXT. I don't know.
I think Statlander should be in developmental or NXT, and I think that Blue Sky and Julia Hart ought to be down at the Mouse's here, 2 shows a night.
Oh, stop it. You see, now this is where you become just a chauvinist pig.
Oink, oink.
What nights?
Anyway, well, Tuesdays and Thursdays are...
There's no wrestling on... Well, NXT's on.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are amateur nights where, but anyway... So that was the main event of the program, Brian. At least the one I saw. Because the main event of AEW last Wednesday was supposed to be MJF and Samoa Joe taking on 2 of the Devil's Stooges in another one of these challenges that never seems to come about for some reason. And right as MJF was entering the ring, before I even saw Samoa Joe or any kind of a match, I was alerted to the fact that it was 10 o'clock Eastern and my DVR froze. They didn't even start the fucking main event until out of their time slot. So can you explain to me what they did? Because I tried to read the recap on the internet and I didn't understand the evolution of events as they were written down in front of me.
All right, I'll see what I can remember off the top of my head because I don't, a lot has happened since last Wednesday.
Some way or another, Joe is the one who turned on MJF by...
MJF was found in the back. It was on the screen, lying on the ground, hurt, the same way Joe had previously been, I think, last week. And then Joe revealed himself. I forget, they may have done the lights out, lights on again. I don't even remember. Joe revealed that he's in cahoots with the devil. He isn't the devil, but he's going to take that title from Max at the pay-per-view.
So then
the top babyface has been made to look like a complete piece of shit. Not a piece of shit, just an idiot.
Just an idiot, a buffoon.
Yeah.
He trusts all the wrong people. But so then now are the Devil's Stooges the Ring of Honor World Tag Team champions?
Yes, they are the World Tag Team champions because MJF got to the ring and got pinned.
They beat MJF.
Yes.
But never took their masks off.
See, I forgot that was the match. You know, now that you're saying it, I remember it all in a different order. Yeah. So MJF's hurt, then he finally gets to the ring, then Joe turns on him, and then they reveal that the Devil has paid off Joe, I guess, and that the Devil's tag team, which we believe are the Kingdom, are now the Ring of Honor tag team champions.
Well, no, but we didn't know that then.
We didn't know that then.
We don't know who these people are.
No.
So basically, the match, which didn't start until the fucking show was supposed to be over with, then what transpired was that Joe revealed that he had been paid off by the Devil and his henchmen to milk MJF into that position, where then he then turned on MJF, and then the Devil's henchmen, who were still at this point unknown and unrevealed, beat MJF and win the Ring of Honor tag team titles that MJF and Samoa Joe were defending on behalf of MJF and Adam Cole, who is hurt and cannot wrestle for months and months and months from now. And that's so that MJF basically was left laying on his fucking face again.
And again, this was the build-up. This was the last thing for the pay-per-view. A pretty big moment, Samoa Joe turning on MJF before the pay-per-view, and a lot of people like you wouldn't have seen it if you tried to DVR this show. Because this was the thing they decided to stick in the overrun spot. Instead of just not having the, I don't know, Statlander versus Sky Blue match, and having this fit into 10 p.m.
Instead of doing it at 9 o'clock and then referring to it and talking about it and what in the world is MJF going to do to get even with Samoa Joe on Saturday night until 10 o'clock, they put it on after 10 o'clock and hope for the best.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite. Well, on that note, Jim, I'm trying to pull up the fucking Dynamite numbers. Hold on. AEW Dynamite that we just reviewed. AEW Dynamite without a fucking in there for YouTube, but AEW Dynamite, ladies and gentlemen, from Wednesday, December 27, 2023 on TBS, on average, watched by 843,000 viewers.
Wait a minute, isn't that what they did 2 weeks ago?
This week versus the trailing 4 weeks, the trailing 4-week average was 827,000. Last week was 782.
Well, I know, but then the week before that was 823 or 7. It's like the house in Baton Rouge because of Jimmy Killshaw, the local promoter. It was $10,600. There'd be 1,000 people there. 10-6. It'd be 3,000 people at 10-6.
Well, let's see what you think of these numbers. Again, this was the go-home show for the pay-per-view. Jim, 8 to 8:50. I don't know why I said Jim there. 8 to 8:15 p.m. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1. Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland versus Jay White with picture-in-picture. 983,000 viewers.
Jesus Christ. So Sheldon, again, hands it off. Sheldon with the tag. You got 1 million people there. What are you going to do with them?
Well, what we're going to do is go to quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m., the continuation.
Because that thing was still going on, that match.
Yeah, throughout the entire quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30, with picture-in-picture, 869,000 viewers.
Ouch! So 114,000 people. So that's where the real number starts, right? Basically.
That's what it seems like. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., Danielson and Eddie Kingston's video, an ad break, Swerve and Prince Nana backstage promo, the Mariah May ramp promo, and then the live angle with Riho and Tony Storm, plus the backstage confrontation between Action Andretti and Top Flight, and Trent Beretta, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero.
Yeah, I skipped that. I skipped that on purpose.
The other guy on the show wearing an eye patch. And then an ad break. 839,000 viewers.
It's another 30,000. So that now we're 144,000 down. It's only been 45 minutes.
They started with Danielson that quarter. They ended with Rocky Romero, two guys with an eye patch in the same segment or the same quarter.
What is the matter with Rocky Romero's eye?
I think he just is a pirate supporter, an enthusiast.
A pirate enthusiast?
Jim, we're going to sail off to quarter four.
Is that anything like a turd burglar?
Maybe so. 8:45 to 9 p.m. The endless Don Callis, Sammy Guevara, Callis Family Live promo. And then the angle with Chris Jericho, Ricky Starks, Big Bill, and Sting, followed by Roderick Strong and the Kingdom's backstage angle. 867,000 viewers.
So they managed to muster back up 28,000 of them. And now this has been fairly steady. I've taken out the first quarter because that was artificial. 869, 839, 867. They can't keep this up all day.
Well, we have the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter five. Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston with picture-in-picture. 792,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay, Danielson and Kingston, because it's a tournament match, they're both technically nominally baby faces, and why do people want to sit there and watch them kick shit out of each other for 15 minutes for no reason? And 75,000 people agreed.
Well, the match continues into quarter six, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. with picture-in-picture ads and then the post-match with Jon Moxley. 832,000 viewers. Also, the high point in the key demo, 433,000 between 18 and 49.
And what in the world do we attribute to 40,000 of them coming back? Was it the remarkable backhand slap finish, or?
I think the Callis angle drove them away before the 9 o'clock hour, and then the 9 o'clock hour comes on, and it's Danielson versus Kingston having this match. I think that match
some of them came back for it.
Some of them came back for that. That's what I think.
Well, you may be right. I forgot about the phallus effect.
We will continue things here with quarter seven, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston's live promo, an ad break, the Christian Cage, Adam Copeland backstage angle, and the beginning of Statlander versus Sky Blue with picture-in-picture, 794,000 viewers.
And they're back under 8, but again, 869, 839, 867, 792, 832, 794. This is remarkable. They have kept much of their audience for the first time in what months? They're only down, again, you got to take the first quarter out of it because they're down almost 200,000 from the first quarter, but they're not even down 80,000 from the second quarter.
Well, let's go to the final quarter with an overrun, 9:45 to 10 p.m., quarter 8. Statlander versus Sky Blue continued. The post-match with Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale, and Abaddon. The Ruby Soho Saraya Anna.
I forgot about Abaddon.
The Ruby Soho Saraya Anna J backstage angle, and an ad break. 781,000 viewers.
Well, that's a gift that didn't lose any more than it did. 13,000. That's the low point of the show, but it was the on-screen low point of the show.
And finally, 10 to 10:06 p.m., the overrun. The Samoa Joe backstage angle where him and MJF take on the Devil's Masked Men. And then his promo, 807,000 viewers.
So 26,000 people showed up thinking they were going to watch gardening or whatever comes on after that. And like, what the fuck is this?
I don't think it's gardening on TBS after Dynamite.
Okay. We've got to get to the root of the matter here. From now on, we got to start disincluding the overrun and the artificially inflated first quarter and doing averages based on what they really fucking get for a viewership for this program. Quarters 2 through 8. And the average, would probably be significantly lower.
Well, they're about to be helped. I just saw the ad that Vanderpump Rules is coming back, but it's going to be on Tuesdays.
Well, how's that going to help them?
It's not going to be on Wednesdays against them.
Oh, I thought you meant for a lead-in.
No, I meant to destroy them.
Why can't they figure it out where they can have this Vanderpump fella lead right into AEW, and then they'd get the Vanderpumpers and the Big Bangers? God damn, it sounds like a fucking Roman orgy.
You know, all kidding aside, if you know that Vanderpump is the one show destroying you in the ratings, why not throw a bunch of money at one of those idiots and get them on your show and try to get some publicity out of it and ruin their show in the process?
Either that or just fucking bribe Vanderpump. Say, hey, move over to fucking Thursday. What's it gonna hurt you?